welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Welcome back to my channel, Michaela loves Gymnastics. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Welcome back to my channel, Michaela loves Gymnastics. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Welcome back to my channel, Michaela loves Gymnastics. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Welcome back to my channel, Michaela loves Gymnastics. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Welcome back to my channel, Michaela loves Gymnastics. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Welcome back to my channel, Michaela loves Gymnastics. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Welcome back to my channel, Michaela loves Gymnastics. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Welcome back to my channel, Michaela loves Gymnastics. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this very special episode of the Love Gymnastics podcast. Today, we have our very first interview of this podcast. We have this young man. I came across his Instagram, and we're going to ask him his pronouns and all this stuff when he gets on. I'm going to be very respectful. They are a male gymnast who competes the 4 women event. And that was so fascinating to me. And literally, we just had a podcast about trans athletes and how, we didn't know any trans athletes. And then bam, we discovered that league. I'm going to Google it when I add him on. And there are more male gymnasts who do women events. So, and they're also thinking about adding this to higher level competitions. So, let me see if Roy is down here still. He was down there. He just stepped away. When he comes back, we'll begin our interview. But he's on. As y'all see, he's there. I'm sure he'll be back in just 1 second. While we're waiting on him to get back on, have you all seen the Russian? Oh, he just and he's back and he's back. Let's add Coach Roy.
Hey, how you doing?
Hello, how are you doing, my love?
I'm okay. I'm okay. Thank you for having me on.
No, thank you for agreeing to join us today. How are you doing? First of all, let's just jump into it. Tell the people a little bit about you, a little bit about your gymnastics journey. What was it like for you? Let's get into it.
Okay. My name is Roy. I'm 32 years old. I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia, and I started doing gymnastics maybe about 7 years ago. I had no gymnastics experience. I'm a former dancer, so I trained in like ballet,
Okay.
modern, contemporary, jazz. So I did have a little bit of like tumbling experience. So like back handspring, a tuck. So I like some basic tumbling. And I think by me started to coach gymnastics, that helped me with my personal journey of growing up the ladder in gymnastics, if that makes sense.
That absolutely made sense to me. What got you involved in the coaching aspect? Was it your dance background? It was just a natural fit, like coaching gymnastics, teaching the girls how to dance.
Yeah, so basically, when I applied at my gymnastics gym, my intentions was more so to grow in the tumbling aspect, the tumbling world, and I wanted to just learn more about tumbling and kind of grow in that cheer department and stuff like that. And when I started to see like other avenues that what the gym had to offer as far as like gymnastics and like boys gymnastics and ninja and all of this stuff. It was so many things I was intrigued by, and I knew if I dabble in those other worlds, it would make me a better, not only a better coach, but a better person as well.
Mhm. Now, let's go into your coaching aspects before we go into your actual gymnastics aspects. What got you into coaching and what got you interested in that from a dance world into the gymnastics world? What even got you interested? Was it just you were applying for jobs and you just so happened to get a job at a gym? What was it, love?
Yeah, so basically, I had currently just moved up here from
Okay.
Atlanta to Miami, and I was doing personal training. So I was trying to look into something that was still like fitness related, because I had some clientels that I was still helping with like fitness and stuff like that. So I was trying to think like, what can I do that would still be involving fitness and me helping people. And I knew I tumbled, so I was like, okay, maybe I should apply at a gymnastics gym. Um, and I knew I didn't want to dance anymore. So I knew I didn't want to like teach dance and stuff like that or even acro. So I was like, okay, what can I do that would still be fun? And I was like, gymnastics or cheer. So it was kind of interesting that I found a building or facility that offered everything in one, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yes, that does make sense. Now, going into you actually starting from coaching to getting your interest into learning skills and learning about events, how did that happen for you? Did you just was watching the girls was like, oh, I think I could do that,
Yeah.
or
So basically, our gym offered up to like level 10 gymnastics, and I would be very like intrigued. Me just a basic coach just teaching the regular rec classes, I would always just be looking over at the gymnastics coaches, the head gymnastics coaches, and look at what the girls are doing on the bars and what they were doing on the beam. And then like after work, I would kind of go over to on the equipment and kind of just walk on the beam or just kind of like swing on the bar and stuff like that. Or in between, like when classes were done, I would kind of go over there to see what the girls were doing, and it kind of just started off as a joke. And I saw one of the girls do like a kip on the bar,
okay,
which basically means like you just swing and you pull yourself up to front support. And I was like, oh, I think I can do that. So I kind of just looked at what one of the girls were doing and I kind of tried, and I didn't make it, of course, on the first couple tries, and I end up making it. And all the girls were like really shocked. They were like, you're so strong, the fact that you learned that so quickly. And I think like by me just learning stuff so fast, I was like, maybe I am kind of like good at this, if that makes sense, you know?
that does make sense. What? Okay, so let's get into it. what made you want to learn more so on the women events opposed to the male events? What? How
So,
did that happen for you?
so I think when at the gym I was coaching at, we had a higher level of women's gymnastics going on. And I think that stuff kind of was a little bit more intriguing. The gym that I was coaching at, we had lower men, so it didn't really intrigue me as much because we had a boys team, but we had lower levels, so like level 4 and 5. So looking at the level eights, nines, and tens, that stuff looked a lot more intriguing. And I'm like, I want to try that. Like, it just looked more fun. It looked more enthusiastic. And by just me being around that environment, and one of the coaches who coached the higher levels, I became really cool with her. And she
Okay.
started kind of just helping me on the side. I would come into work early, like 30 minutes early. And I was just like, what is that skill that you guys were doing? And she was like, well, it was called a giant. I'm like, well, what's that skill that girl was doing on the beam? She was like, it's the back handspring. I'm like, well, I want to learn that. I want to learn that. Teach me that. And she's looking at me very crazy, like, I can't teach you that in like no 30 minutes. I'm like, well, can you just show me the drill and I'll practice by myself? And she was like, okay, well, you need to like learn how to do a back handspring up a panel mat, because if you can get stuff up a panel mat, like that's basically the foundation of beam. And then of course there's like technical stuff to it, like the hand placement and all of that stuff. But every time she would show me stuff, or I would kind of just be watching like what the girls would be doing for complex or for warm-ups, and I would just kind of practice on my own.
So let's just jump ahead. We're going to go back to that in a second. Let's jump ahead in the conversation for 1 second. First of all, I want to ask you, what are your pronouns and everything? I want to be very respectful. Is it he, him? Is it them, they?
Say that again.
Is them, they?
I don't know what that means.
Pronouns, you don't.
Him, her.
What do you identify as basically?
I identify as male.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm so sorry. You got to ask these questions
Yes.
nowadays. Um, so as a person who identifies as male, have you ever gotten any pushback to even wanting to learn the women's events in the first place?
Of course, absolutely. I remember how uncomfortable it felt when I wanted to start doing it, and how awkward it was when everybody else was watching me do this, and they was like, "Well, why do you want to learn this? Why do you want to do this?" Um, and for me, it just felt fun. It felt challenging. Um, and it became very discouraging at times because it was different and nobody around was doing it. And I think that I had to reflect on how it made me feel at the end of the day, and it brought me joy. And also, just it was this little voice in my head that said to me, like, if I actually became good, then what would people actually think about me, if that makes sense?
Hmm.
Um, I knew nobody else was doing it, and I think that was the part that made it fun for me too. Nobody else was doing it. I never saw a male training any women's gymnastics, and that's the part that I liked about it.
Okay. Were you afraid of doing certain things on the balance beam to like because a lot of the men feel they don't want to do certain things on the balance beam because they're scared of like splitting the beam or anything like that. Like, was that ever on your mind, or you were just like, no, I just want to do balance beam?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I remember when I first learned the balance beam, it was very fun, and I started on the low beam. So I think when the coach showed me the drills for it, she was like, just take the panel mats and stack them on the side of the beam so it's just a flat surface. So I think training the beam like that became very fun, and it was very safe at first. And I think my very first experience of when I hopped up on a high beam and really looking at, wow, this is a 4-inch beam. I'm off the ground. And if I split the beam, I'm sure that's not going to feel well. And I remember the very first skill that I did that I definitely split the beam. And I looked around and I was like, but I caught myself so quick that I kind of held myself up. so I didn't really like land between my legs. I kind of like landed on my thigh so much. But
Okay.
even just that feeling didn't even feel well. And I was like, well, what am I doing? Like, am I that insane that I want to continue to do something like this? So I had to figure out other safe ways that's gonna help me not fall.
Yeah,
But I definitely have split in the beam multiple times in my training experience of training beam. I've fallen just like everybody else. I've gotten mental blocks just like everybody else. I've had to stop training skills because I've hurting myself or just splitting the beam or just the mental aspect of it.
absolutely, absolutely. Speaking of mental aspects of it, I'm glad you said that because it just brought a question to my mind. As you said, you're in your 30s when you did your introductions, and a lot of the girls you coach are like preteens, 10 to 9, so on and so forth. Is it kind of awkward to you that you're learning skills at the same pace that they're learning skills? Or are you learning skills at a faster pace than them at this point?
So that's a pretty interesting topic because basically it was kind of like around the same time as they're learning stuff. So for me, the physical aspect came pretty quickly, but the mental aspect is what I struggle with. So I was like, well, why are they scared? Like, I'm not understanding why they're scared to do this. Like, it's so easy. Like, if you could do it on the floor, like, you should be able to do it on the beam, or you could do it like between the mats, or you can do it like on the line. Like, I just couldn't understand the mental part of the scaredness of gymnastics for me because everything came so natural for me, everything came so quickly. And I had this very fearless attitude. So I couldn't understand the mental aspect of it. And I think the more I trained, I started to understand why kids got scared, why they were stressed, why they got mental blocks. And that definitely taught me to be a lot more understanding, not only as a person, but definitely as a coach as well.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Um, so let's talk about you competing in competitions this year because that
Mhm.
really what I was like, wow, like you're actually competing and getting scores and stuff. What has that like? What has that journey been like for you this year? I know you had a groin injury at the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
Did that affect your season so far? Like,
Absolutely. I remember starting off my first competition season, I was only training at this point for 2 years, and I went to an open gym, and this girl saw me on the beam, and she was like, "Hey, like, you should like try to compete." And I was like, "Compete?" And she was like, "Yeah, like there's this program where basically called NAIGC, which
uh-huh.
men's can do women's events." Women's could do men's events. It's a whole thing. She was telling me about it, and she gave me like the website for it, and I checked it out, and I was like, "Oh, I have like 6 months to sign up for my first competition." So I was talking to one of my friends at this point, and she was like, "Well, I think you should do like level eight women's gymnastics." And at this point, I was like, maybe level seven, like all around everything. And I
Hmm.
was like, "Oh," I was like, "Well, what skills do I need to get?" And she started telling me like the skills on each event. And I was like, "Oh," I started stressing because at this point, it's like, it's gameplay. Like, nothing is fun anymore. It's now I have to like figure out to get in this competition mindset. And the pandemic just happened. So now gyms are closed around the world. But I had like access to the gym still because I worked there. I've been there for years. So I had a key. So I would go in with my friend and she would kind of like help me train maybe like twice a week for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And we would train and she would like basically we would research all these drills on YouTube of like how to get stuff. And I would like reach out to a whole bunch of coaches online to like really like kind of like build my craft and get a lot more cleaner because I knew at this point I wanted to do like compete. And I knew if I wanted to compete, I had to be as clean as possible and confident as possible. So I started getting my skills over the pandemic, working with different coaches. I was in the gym a lot more. And my very first competition was, I will never forget it. It was in Virginia, and I traveled with my best friend up there, and it was at the James Madison University.
Oh wow. Okay.
I was very nervous, very, very nervous. But at this point, all I could think about was all the training that I did beforehand. And I was like, okay, at this point, I just have to just leave it out on the floor. We started on bars first. Bars went well. I hit bars. and I was like feeling pretty confident at this point. I was like, okay, going to beam. Beam warm ups went really good. I was like, yes, I hit my series. It was the two back handsprings on the beam because that series was like stressing me out. Like from the time I learned it to like competition season, I was like really inconsistent with it. But I
And
hit it
what
at
year was this? Was your first
this is
competition?
2022.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
wow.
2022. Yes. So beam warm ups went great. So now we're trying to figure out what's the lineup, who wants to go first, who wants to go second, blah, 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 blah. It's like 10 people in this like group or whatever. And I was like, all right, I'll go second. I don't want to go first because I went first on bars. So I was like, I'll go second. So I went, I stuck my back tuck and I fell off on the two back handspring series. I was so like upset. But I finished, landed everything else, and I kind of ran to the bathroom at this point because I was really upset because I was such a perfectionist and I just wanted to do so well. I wanted to like just do my best and I wanted to showcase that, and I was upset that I fall. So I went to the bathroom for like 5 minutes to just collect myself, and I was like, all right, I know floor is next. So now I could just I know I'm good at floor. I could do this, and did floor. I hit floor and I was really happy about it. It brought my level of confidence back up because I was kind of still upset about being. Moving on to vault. At this point, the competition has been going a lot longer than expected. So now the judges are kind of like tired. They're ready to go home. It's like 9 o'clock at night at this point. So they kind of cut our time in half. They're supposed to give us, it's like 10 people. So they're supposed to give us a total of like 20 minutes because each person gets 2 minutes. But they cut it
Okay.
in half. And now everybody has different vault settings. Everybody's doing different vaults. So I agreed to go last. So because I went last, my vault time was short. So vault warm ups, I warmed up like twice and I felt good about it. And then I was competing a Yuchenko pike or something like that at the time, or a tuck, whatever. So I end up hitting my head on the vault table to the point I got a really bad concussion,
Oh,
and they had to
wow.
pull me from the competition, and I was like really upset. Really, really upset. Very sad. And from that moment I knew like, okay, like I had to go back to the why. Like, why am I doing this if I'm gonna hurt myself? I don't like this feeling of being upset and like, so what's the purpose of all of this? Like if I'm not having fun, pretty much. I have to find the fun in this. Is like is this is not like life or death. I'm doing this for the fun aspect. So I had to like realize like the why, you know. So reflecting on all of that, I didn't get any medals that meet. And when I came back home, I was like, you know what? Of course it's not about the medals, but we all want our hard work to show, if that makes sense. I don't
Absolutely.
think we go into anything wanting to get any outcome, but we always want something that we do that we love to be seen, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So I was a little defeated after that first competition. I didn't get any medals, I didn't place, and I was very sad. So I got back in the gym and I just kind of just worked my butt off. I trained more hours because I think at that point I was only training 2 days a week for like 4 hours a week, trying to do level 8, which is not good at all. I should be training at least 10 hours a week trying to do level 8. So I got in the gym more. I was working out at least like 3 to 4 times out of the week. And I was training, putting more hours, and I was like, okay, I don't want to do level 8 anymore. I'm gonna see if I can try to upgrade to do level 9. And that's
Okay.
exactly what I did. I just because my friend told me, she was like, you should just repeat level 8 so you could just have a cleaner season, be more confident, just be a lot more cleaner. And I was like, no, because I have to think about what I want. Because at the end of the day, it's about what I want.
Mhm.
So I was like, I want to do level 9. So I started watching a whole bunch of videos of like what the girls are doing in level 9 and how I'm going to get these skills and what I'm going to do. I have to figure out a plan. And I wrote a plan out for myself for like 6 months of like trying to stick to that plan. And of course, there's mental blocks, there's injuries along the way, and I'm older, still having to deal with life problems, bills, responsibilities, all kind of stuff outside of like the normal things kids doesn't have to worry about. Um,
Yeah.
but going back to your question, I kind of got off a little off topic, but going back to
No,
your
it's
question as far
pretty fine. I love it. I love it so much.
as going back to your questions as far as like me having this growing injury this year. So I do want to talk to you about something that was a little like deeper personal for me, and I don't mind
Okay.
sharing because I think whoever this story that I can share this with, and if it could change anybody's lives or just uplift anybody, like I'm here for it, you know. So basically,
Perfect.
a year ago, well, last year around this time, I was in a relationship with my ex boyfriend. We were together for like 3 years, and I became very depressed. I lost my job. I was coaching at different gyms, and I lost my job. I lost two different jobs at the time, and in that process of me losing jobs, I basically was still trying to hold my own financially, and I had a little bit of savings, but now at this point, it's kind of like getting depleted. So now, in this process of me losing my job, I got depressed. I was financially losing money and then still trying to figure out a way of life of like work and everyday living and just trying to figure out my own at the same time. And of course, you know, relationship problems and stuff like that. But in that process of going through all of that, I got really depressed, very sad, and I felt very alone, lonely, all of these things. And I basically tried to commit suicide on myself.
Oh wow.
Um, it was really bad, really, really bad. I felt I was going through a lot of emotional trauma where I felt like I was pleasing everyone and everybody around me and trying to listen to what everybody want instead of what I wanted and my needs. And I got
Okay.
really overwhelmed. Um, and I felt like I just didn't want to live anymore because I felt like I was trying to cater to everybody else, emotional needs, whatever, that I got really drained. I felt very empty every single day. I was like a glass, a water bottle that's full. I felt like people were drinking all the water out of me, and at the end of the day, I had no water to give or water myself. So
Mm.
in that process of trying to like commit suicide, I had to go through therapy, and I end up we broke up. I moved out, all of that stuff. And I ended up moving in with a friend, and I kind of just started over with myself. I started at a new job. I started over with just a way of thinking. And when that situation happened for me, it was like kind of killing that old person. That's how I felt for me. And I started over. I started a new job, and it was a lot better for me to just get in a new headspace, a new space around me as well to kind of just figure out what I want. And I kind of stopped putting a lot of people in my business of what asking people for advice and what they think I should do, and I started finding what I want to do, and I became a lot more at peace with myself and with my life. So this competition season became very personal for me because I almost kind of gave up on myself when it came to like gymnastics and
Oh,
stuff like that. Yeah, it was really really personal for me. So did I ended up pulling my growing back in November. I had a really severe growing tear, and I didn't think I was going to be able to compete this year because it was really serious to the point I couldn't walk. Everything hurt, like even bars hurt, and I was like, "Why is my growing hurting on bars?" But it hurt, like using your hip flexors for kips, like all of those muscles are like working, so I couldn't do anything, and it was hurting so bad. So I did some physical therapy. I rest, and like within like a month or so, I started to walk a lot better. I was started to do gymnastics a lot more better, and the physical therapy I was doing that, and so that started to come around, and I was able to like do gymnastics again. I'm like, okay, well maybe I can compete. So when I pulled it back in November, I started to feel a lot better by like mid January, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna look up some competitions and see like what I can do this year since things are coming up. So now at this point, because I haven't done any gymnastics in like 2 months, I have to start over because I haven't done
mm.
anything. So I'm like, okay, like, am I gonna be ready for like this first competition coming up? So I did like a mock meet and I got into shape within like 3 weeks. And that mock meet went so good. It was so good. I was like, okay, I want to do level 9 this year, but I was like, I really want to do 10. So I'm like, how am I going to get these level 10 skills if I'm injured and trying to push myself too fast and I don't want to injure myself again? So I did
Mm.
level 9 at the beginning of the season. And once I started to get a lot more healthier, I started working upgrades in the process too. So when I found out about this competition on this group website, this lady posted it and it was local, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. So I made this flyer and I posted this flyer in my gym facility to
Okay.
get some of my parents to kind of like donate and support, because this stuff costs. Like, obviously, I don't have a mom or I'm not a kid to where my parents are going to pay for my tuition. So all of this stuff is coming out of my pocket, you know? So I post the flyer, and a lot of the parents were being very supportive because they were seeing me do gymnastics around the gym at times. So they were supporting me, they were donating to me, and I ended up raising some money
Oh,
to
that's
where I was
nice.
able to do, huh?
That's real sweet. That's real
Yeah,
nice.
very, very sweet. I had some parents that really donated to me, and they were able to help me like go out there for my first competition, because there's entry fees. You have to make sure you have, like, obviously your leotard, and you have to pay for the judges. Like, there's travel, stuff like that. Like, luckily that competition was local, but there was other competitions I wanted to do that was far away that requires money, hotels, having to
And
pay
while
for
we're on there,
transportation.
let's just talk about that for 1 second. We're gonna get back into this competition season. I'm so
Yes.
sorry. You keep bringing up good tidbits, and I want the people to understand that these girls have to pay, and these boys have to pay to compete at these things. It's not like they're not like Simone Biles or something where they're getting invited to come compete.
Yep.
No, you have to pay an entrance fee to
Hmm.
even come here. Then you have to pay for your hotel, and you have to pay for judges to come judge you. Can you explain that to the people so the people get a better understanding of that?
Of course. I mean, every competition is different. So, generalized speaking, like, I'm not speaking for every competition, but
Absolutely.
a GIF, like, let's say the local one I did is a little cheaper because obviously it's local. So, you may have to pay for the entry fee, which could be up to $90 to $150 just for the competition. So, it could be a little pricey, for somebody who may not have the funds, and even something like that, you're paying for people's time. Obviously, friends that come, they have to pay for an entry fee to get in the competition. Sometimes it's $5, it's $10. You're paying for family and stuff like that. Also, the membership that you're a part of, or the club or organization, you have to pay for that as well. If you're part of
Also,
a
you have to pay to be in the you. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I keep
the
forgetting that.
the NAIGC, yes.
Yes.
There's a yearly fee that you have to pay for that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, is, I could be wrong, but it's maybe roughly between like $100 and $150 a year.
Okay.
And then obviously you're paying for the competitions. Any competitions that you register for, you have to pay for that too. And mind you, I'm only speaking on just the local competition that I did. But every competition, the price is different, because depending how big or small it is, it could be cheaper if it's smaller. If it's a lot more bigger, it could be more money. You get what I'm saying? Because the convention center, sometimes these competitions, they're paying for the facility. So they're paying for the facility, so it may be a lot more depending how many judges are there. They have to pay for the judges to eat. They have to pay for their time. So it's a lot of things that goes into the stuff that people don't know about. And I'm only speaking on just a small aspect of the competitions in general.
Perfect. And going back to now, let's go back to this competition season. So, and let's talk about some skills. Let's talk about some fun things. I seen on your Instagram that you was working on a bell on uneven bars. What made
Ah,
you want to learn this skill? Don't laugh. I love it. I love
no,
it.
this it's a story. So originally, my dream skill on bars was a pack salto. I really wanted to
Okay,
learn
yeah.
that skill, and it was not coming as quickly as I wanted to come, and I kept hitting my feet on a high bar because I'm pretty tall. Obviously, the uneven bars, it's made for women for the height of like 5'2" or 5'1", 5'3". I'm 5'9", so I'm a lot more taller to try to swing between the bars. And when I started to learn the overshoot, I wasn't really a fan of it, and I initially got the overshoot a year ago, and I end up injuring myself doing the skill. So I caught a really bad mental block on it. I end up catching the bar, and when I caught the bar, I kind of split and landed between the bars. And
Ooh.
I got a really bad mental block, and I was like, okay, I'm not working on this skill no more, and I just kind of gave up on it a little bit. But taking some time away from the skill, and I realized just kind of studied the skill a little bit more. I was like, okay, maybe there was something I did at error on my end that, I can prevent myself from doing. So what can I do better this time around? Training the skill safely and actually trying to get the skill that is gonna work. So I start over. I started over with mats, and when I started over, I kind of started around like September, October of last year, and I was
Okay.
like, let's try to work on it like once a week, which is not a lot. But because I'm only training like 2 or 3 times out of the week, I had to figure out what day I'm going to work on it. So I kind
Hmm.
of worked on it. And then when I competed my first competition in February, the end of January, February, I didn't have it then. So I wanted to compete it for the first competition, but I didn't have it. It wasn't consistent and I didn't feel confident enough to kind of throw it in my bar routine. So I was like, all right, I'm going to work on it some more. I'm going to work on it some more. And at this point, I was like, at the end of the season, I want to compete this overshoot. And I was like, I have to do what it takes to compete this overshoot because I was like, I don't want to have the same bar team that I had last year. That was like the biggest mindset that I had. I was like, I want to do something different. I want to look different. And I was like, what can I do? What skill can I put in this bar team that's going to make me look different from last year for myself personally? So I was like, all right, I'm going to work on this overshoot. And I started working on it. And mind you, I only worked on it for 3 weeks. And I was like, I'm going to get this thing. And I end up like getting it back, putting it in there. And I was very happy when I competed it
Okay.
2 weeks ago. It was like the best feeling to like compete it. I'm still sore to this day. Like my triceps are so sore. Like I have not done any gymnastics since my competition last
Okay.
weekend because my body is still sore. Like I'm 30, so it's taking me a lot longer to recover, you know?
So okay, so on even bars, I was seeing on your Instagram that you were having issue with your pirouette, your half turn, and that's why maybe not that's why, but you changed your half turn
Yep.
into the bell. What
Yep.
was your mental block on your pirouetting skill?
So that skill just did not come natural for me. And I like every single time, like I've done so many drills for the pirouette and it just doesn't come natural for me. And I was like, okay, if I can get this overshoot, I can take the pirouette out. And that was like the biggest motivation for me. I'm like, okay, if I do the overshoot, I can have a blind change on the bar and I could take the pirouette out. Cause I'm like, I cannot like every single time, like in practice, I don't hit the pirouette. But when I get to the meet, like somehow it just comes out of my butt and miraculously happens. But I'm like, that's like once out of a month when I'm finally hitting it. That's not enough numbers for me to be confident for me to like do this because in practice I don't hit the pirouette. So I'm like, what can I do that's gonna get me to like take this pirouette out? Because I did not want, and that was another reason why I didn't do the pack salto. Because I'm like, if I put the pack salto in the bar routine, I'm gonna have to keep the pirouette, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, the overshoot is perfect because I'm already facing the direction coming out of the pirouette. So I'm like, okay, so let's just put that overshoot back in the bar. So it was just perfect. So I was like, this is perfect. I don't have to work this pirouette no more. I can keep the overshoot. So that was the motivation behind not doing the pirouette anymore.
So once you got the overshoot, then you kind of over rotated your dismount. Was it you were so happy about the overshoot?
Yes. In my mind, when it came down to like competing that bar routine and warm ups, I was so exhausted. Like I was so exhausted. I had done 2 bells like in the warm ups, and I was not catching them at all. Like my feet kept banging on the floor, and the guy that was there, he was like, "You want to do one more?" I was like, "No, I'm gonna just save my energy." So I literally, the judge, she gave me like 1 minute. She was like, "All right, in 1 minute, we'll be ready to go." I was like, all right, here we go. Here goes nothing. So when I caught the overshoot in the competition, I was like, my body was celebrating. I was like, yes, just keep going, just keep going. And literally towards the end of the bar routine, I got so exhausted. And I saw the floor in the double back. Like I literally saw it, but I guess I didn't open up soon enough. And I over rotated. And I was just like, no, like I literally could have hit in this bar routine. And everybody was still clapping. And I was so mad that night. Oh my God. When I got home, I was so mad at myself because the practice before, like I hit the full bar routine, like I hit everything. I landed the double back, everything, and I was like, just take this routine to the meet. Ugh.
It
But
still
it was
was a great
wrong.
routine, friend. It still was a great
Yeah.
routine. Now let's talk about floor. Cause on floor, you keep teasing us with this 2.5 twist on floor. How
Yes.
close are you to? Is it? Do you think one day we're gonna see it soon? What's going on with that?
So originally my plan was to do it at 2.5. When I got to the competition, I did a double full and got very lost in the warm-ups and kind of landed on my head.
Okay,
So I had to take the 2.5 out because in the warm-ups I was lost completely. I did a double full and I never get lost in a double full. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if I was just tired. It was like the last event of the day. I don't know what was going on in my mind. So my plan was to do the 2.5. And the practice earlier before, I just didn't have enough endurance for it. I don't train my floor routine as often as I should. I train floor maybe once a week. So it's just not enough. I just didn't have enough gas in me to do the 2.5. Like when in practice, like I could do three 2.5s in a row, but to put it in the routine and it's the last
yeah.
coming pass, I'm already gassed out by this point.
Especially your last time pass.
Hmm.
That's hard.
Yes, it
That's
is. It's
hard.
very, very
And
hard.
you
I know
find
I
a
can pull it.
good D skill, like
Yeah.
that's pretty hard. Pretty hard.
I did do it last year. I definitely did it last year. I did the punch front through the double pike. I did front lay, and I did the 2.5 last year. So my plan was to put it back in there this year, but I just didn't have enough gas in me. And I was like, ugh. So my plan is to still, I have another competition that I'm trying to do. Hopefully this
Okay.
one's going to be in June. This is going to be AAU Nationals, which is going to be in Chicago. So my
Oh
plan
wow.
is to
Okay.
try to do it. Yes. Um, but my mom actually has a birthday that weekend, so I'm trying to figure out how trying to make it all work out. So my plan is to definitely go to AAU Nationals. I'm very excited because I'm going to meet a couple people that I know from online that's going to be there and seeing them and stuff like that. So I'm really excited about that aspect. So I'm really hoping I can go to AAU Nationals. That's my plan. But if not, I'm just going to just train, work some more upgrades, get cleaner. And I guess we could talk about upgrades for new season if I decide to do gymnastics next year. My body's
Okay.
going to be healthy enough to do it next year.
But let's continue with this year because you do. I've seen you do a your Chinko style vault and a Sukahara style vault,
Hmm.
and that fascinates me beyond belief because most people who learn you Chinkos stay the hell away from Sukaharas. Most people who learn Sukaharas stay the hell away from your Chinkos. What was it that you wanted to learn both style of those vaulting?
So I actually had a big mental block on vault for a couple months, and that's what made me learn the Sukahara vault because I got very scared doing the Yuchenko. I ended up hitting my head on the
Hmm.
Yuchenko. I kind of landed around off, jumped back. I bent my arms on the table, so I got scared for like 3 months. So I had to kind of start over with my Yuchenkos taking a break. And so for the first competition that I had back in February, I just did the soup vault. But I took a break and I kind of relearned the Yuchenko again, and I started getting it back. My shoulders got stronger, so I was able to kind of compete that Yuchenko style vault again, which I was really happy about because I initially, when I first started to do gymnastics, I learned a Yuchenko first. That was the original vault that I learned first was the Yuchenko. So the Sukahara vault was actually a backup vault. And I think it's important to have options because you never know what's going to happen, you know? So you need to make sure you have options for anything to where something can happen, like where you can't do the skill anymore, you have a backup plan, you know?
Absolutely. And speaking of backup plans, the last individual event that I want to talk about is your beam because that's the one that I'm most glad about. Is because now I've seen you doing a back handspring layout step out,
Hmm.
and you added a standing layout step out to your beam.
Hmm.
What went into this to these decisions?
So because in level 8, I had the back handspring step out, back handspring step out. The progression of that is back handspring step out, layout step out. And I was looking at videos of what level 9s and 10s are doing, and that's the common style series that you see a lot. My dream series was actually a front aerial back handspring. I wanted to learn that. But
Okay,
because my back is very tight and my heel was getting bruised a lot because of the front aerial, I had to figure out another option. And the back handspring step out, layout step out became very more natural to me. I like that series. When I hit it, it's really good. I just get very nervous doing meets. Because in warm-ups, I stuck it in the warm-ups. And as soon as I salute, is when the nerves get the best of me and I make nerves mistakes. You know, and I think anybody who competes could relate to that. We all make nerves mistakes. It's not even like silly mistakes. It's just nerves. The nerves take over and we just get a little jittery. We get a little nervous. That slight nervousness in our head or doubt or just whatever makes us off, especially on being.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but I love that series. It's a really beautiful series. When it's done right, it's really pretty. Really, really pretty. And the standing layout step out. Initially, I was doing a standing back tuck before, and
Okay.
I wanted to figure out something that was going to be a little bit more consistent. And my boss, she told me to do a standing layout step out. She was like, "Your back tucks are very inconsistent," because I would do five, and probably out of the five, I would probably hit like two or three.
Okay.
So she was like, "Find something that you can do that's a little bit more consistent." And she was like, "How about a standing layout step out?" And I was like, I can do that. She was like, okay, well, let me see. And I did three in a row. She was like, just do that. That's a lot more prettier. It's a D on beam. So just do that. Like, just do a standing layout step out, and people will be a lot more impressed with the standing layout step out. So that's how that came about.
Nice, nice, nice. So when earlier in the conversation, you said that when you started doing gymnastics, you were the only guy that you saw that were doing the women's events.
Yes.
Now there's a bunch of men doing the women's events. How do you feel this aspect of the sport is going to progress? Do you think it's going to be where it's going to be like maybe a cup of, if do you think it's enough guys who do the girls events to do a whole competition dedicated to just that?
Yes, I think there's a lot of us out there, and I think we're starting to become a lot more brave of putting ourselves out there, which I think is a very beautiful thing. And we're starting to get the courage to just go out there and have fun and not take it so serious. I
Hmm.
know a couple of people that follow me on social media that are men and do women's gymnastics that get a lot of advice from me or just um, that we just show each other love and they do it for fun. And some of them don't even want to do it for the competing aspect. They like just the content attention that they get, and they like the inspiration that they pour out, which I think is a beautiful thing. And I think sports are becoming a lot more unisex in general. It's just beautiful to see. Women doing basketball, that's beautiful to see. So I don't see it any different from men's doing women's gymnastics. You know what I'm saying? Um, I've gotten a lot of like backlash from the certain things that I do on social media as far as the women's gymnastics. A lot of people hate comments have said a lot of stuff to me. Why is he doing this? This is not appropriate. He should be
Get a
doing
lot of the
women's gymnastics.
parents who don't understand, who think you're transgender and you want to somehow be a woman, and that's why you're doing the women's events.
It's it's crazy. It really is crazy. But I try to focus on the love because I think the old me last year would have broken down seeing those comments. But now that
Hmm.
I'm a lot more stronger mentally now, I think that stuff don't even bother me anymore. Even in beforehand, looking at being at these open gyms and people laughing at me or looking at me crazy, like, why is he on his beam? Why is he doing women's gymnastics? Like, I've gotten a lot of people saying certain stuff to me in person, and I'm just like, okay, well, let me see you come do it. And me saying certain comments like that would just kind of like get them to be quiet. You get what I'm saying? It would get them to just realize how hard it is, and anything I put myself to when it comes to this craft is I had to work for it. Like some
Hmm.
stuff came natural, but I had to put a lot of time and energy into it and money as well. Paying for these open gyms, that costs. Driving to these gyms, that's gas. You know what I'm saying? So all of that stuff costs, not just financially, emotionally. Coming home at night, I'm sore, emotionally torn down from it because I probably didn't have a good practice. It's a practice is best of a practice that I wanted to have. So, but I'm a fan to everybody out there that doing what they love and they're having a true passion behind it and not also just doing what they love, just sticking to who you are as a person. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I love that. That's beautiful. Now I promised that we were only going to take 45 minutes, but
No,
I
I
just
think
need
this is
5 more
great.
minutes of your time because.
No, this is great. I really appreciate this. This is really great. I definitely, with your permission, would love to share this on my page if that's okay with you
Oh,
as well.
absolutely. And I'm going to post it on Twitter and on my YouTube channel and everywhere. So if you can get it, I'll send you a copy of it so you can post it wherever you want to post it.
I want you to tell me a little bit about you if you don't mind.
Okay, no problem. I am Michaela Loves Gymnastics, host of
Okay.
one of the hosts of the Loves Gymnastics podcast. And I'm just a long-time gymnastics fan. Like I started watching gymnastics, well, heavily like in 1992. I'm 43 years old. So I started heavily watching gymnastics in like 1992. And as a kid, I'm transgender. So as a kid, gymnastics was my friend. Gymnastics was the person that didn't judge me, didn't call me weird. I could sit up there for hours at a time and sit up there and watch gymnastics. So it just, I developed a love for the sport. I really give gymnastics credit for saving my life as a little kid because it just gave me something to do when other people wouldn't want to be around me.
Yeah. Did you ever
And
do gymnastics yourself personally?
no, never. It's just I just am a super fan. Like I'm a super duper fan. That's why I know all the skills and I know all the lingo because I just been that invested in the
Yeah.
sport on a fan side for so long.
If you had the opportunity for fun to train a certain event, what would you pick?
Probably uneven bars because it's my favorite event.
Mm.
I love uneven bars.
Do you have a certain skill, a dream skill on bars?
Um, probably okay. Realistically, a dream skill would just be like a toe on. I just think the toe
Oh
ons are
yeah.
so cool.
Yes.
Now, unrealistically, I would love to learn a Van Leeuwen or something like that, but
Oh, come on.
but and I love all the pirouettes on bars, all of the leans, endos, all of those. I love them all.
I'm obsessed with Stalders. That's like my dream bar circling skill. Uh, and if I work it consistently, I can actually get it because I was actually really close, but it wasn't coming fast enough. And then my growing, like, it was kind of bothering me a little bit. So I
Ooh,
stopped
okay.
working on. But that skill is so beautiful to me. Ugh. But toe ons, I had a toe on. I need to work it back again. Maybe I could put it in my bar routine for next year. But I love toe ons.
You have a free hip in your bar routine, right?
Yeah, I do. Clear hip handstand. But I want the toe handstand. Toe handstands just looks cooler. It really does.
um, two more questions and then I'm going to let you go because, but you are more than welcome to come back anytime. Like I really enjoy talking to you, and I hope we, continue to talk on Instagram. I really like
Of
you. Like I
course.
really
Of course. This was
perfect.
nice.
Okay, so last controversial question is Frederick Richards came out with a leotard earlier this year because I'm not sure what the reason was. I could speculate what I think the reason was, but the reason that he gave was because he wanted little young boy athletes to not feel emasculated just by the leotard that they wear or whatever. Um, he made it seem like it was an issue that little boys get picked on or called like little sissies for being gymnasts or whatever. And he came out with this, they're not even calling it a leotard, an outfit. So it could present more mass. But it's an automatic deduction. It's not even in the rules. He couldn't even wear it if he wanted to. So it just was stupid. But without that being stupid, do you feel like there is an issue with young boys not wanting to do gymnastics because gymnastics is perceived as feminine? And how do we change that? Because I feel like we have so much talent, especially with black boys of color, that could go to the Olympics. We could have several Olympics. We could have years of dominance for the USA men's gymnastics team if gymnastics just wasn't looked at as that.
I,
over there.
I think this is a really good pop culture question, and everything is perceived as perception. And my perception on that particular topic is basically I see, obviously, at the gym I work at now, we have a boys team, and we have level 4, and we have level 5, and we have one level 10. And I
Okay.
think, off of my observation, this is just my assumption. I don't know for sure, but I think there's one particular boy. I would say he would probably be in the LGBT community growing up. I can tell based off how he acts. Um, and I think the reason why gymnastics is looked at as such a feminine sport is because the women's side of gymnastics is so dominated. So everybody thinks that gymnastics is girly. They don't see the strength, and they don't see the everyday life things that gymnastics teaches us. All they see is femininity behind it, and they think, oh, this is gay. And I've met so many people that, friends of mine or people I've talked to on social media, was like, I want to learn how to flip. Always something I wanted to do when I was younger, but my mom didn't want me to do it because she said it was girly. And that's just a shame, because it's like you haven't even gave your child a chance to explore something, a potential of a passion or something they could be good at. And I think when it comes, I do think in time, I think it's getting better now, that the stigma around that saying is changing a lot. I think it's changing slowly. Um, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Hello,
You're here. You're there. Can you hear me?
Michaela?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me, baby? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Is everything stop? What's going on? I better click you off and click you right back on. Let me see if that
Michaela?
helps. Let me see. Take them off real quick. Take them back on. Can you hear me? Did that fix it?
Michaela?
Can you hear me now? Did that fix it? Everything was going so well. Technical difficulties, everybody. Technical difficulties. Try logging off and then coming back on, Roy. Try logging off and then coming back on. Hey, Roy, try coming back on. Try coming back. Let me see. Can you hear me, friend? Is that better? Did I fix it? Oh, crap. Oh, crap. Everything was going so well, everybody. the last few minutes of the show. Okay, he's coming back. Let's see.
Michaela?
Roy, can you
Michaela?
hear me,
Yes,
baby?
I can hear you. I don't know if it was me or what happened.
it's always technical difficulties at some point in the podcast. Always.
But I'm here. I don't know what's the last thing you heard me say, but I think stating that times are changing now, and I think that of gymnastics and male gymnastics of it being so feminine is becoming a lot more open. And I think with the community of us, we're also helping that. We're also changing that. We're showing people that, just do what you like. I'm starting to see a lot more when I do go to men's competitions, little boys or teenagers or a little more older that are feminine. They're putting their stuff out there. They're doing it. And that's what I like to see. I like to see a lot more us out there, and we're dominating the sport. And I think what Frederick did, because he's such this huge platform, and I think what he did was positive at the same time a little bit. He is trying to put a message out there for little kids, because a lot of kids are getting bullied, for doing feminine acts. And I think that stuff is not being talked about in the gym, outside of the gym. Um, and I think that when you have these athletes who has these such huge and they put in these huge statements out there, I think it's put out there. People are listening to it, and I think that that's what's making this community change. And I think stuff needs to be said more about that. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely, absolutely. I just feel like with Fred, because he's like the most successful Black American gymnast that we've ever had. What he did was, I don't think he meant to do it, but what he did was kind of dangerous because there are lots of gay male gymnasts. Like it just naturally, because of the artistic nature of gymnastics, there just are. And I don't think it's right to belittle them in order to make somebody else feel better, if that makes any sense to me, to you.
Yeah, I can see that, but I think I'm hoping he had good intentions
I hope
behind
so
him
too.
doing that.
I really hope so too.
I can hope for, because I think we can interpret it in so many different ways. I'm just trying to look at it as the positives behind it, and I'm just hoping if he had any sense to clarify it up, his message is something positive. That's what I'm hoping for. But I do think that topic is very controversial, and I think that I'm just trying to look at it as in a positive way and hoping that his message was something positive. I want to pray that it is. I'm thinking and assuming that it is, so I'm just gonna stick with that.
Yeah.
So
Final question. So, can you say the abbreviation for me again? Is N?
NAIGC.
I don't know why I want to put a U at the beginning of it, like USA. But so there's this Republican thing going around where it's a trans athlete that competes under this league or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Female to male transgender. I just have to put that out there. And so they're competing in all the masculine events. But still, the Republicans are making it seem, if you don't look at the story, that trans women are up here trying to do women's gymnastics, trying to take Olympic spots from people. Of course, we
Mm-hmm.
all know that's not the truth. But how do you feel, and how can this sport be more inclusive to the trans athletes that might be? Because you're not a trans athlete, but I feel like I think even in 2025, that still might be a bridge too far, where people might be like, okay, look, it's already bad enough that men want to do. Now you want to look like a girl, and like, no, 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 no. So how can we be better when we have these conversations? Because everybody's going to have their opinion, and you can have your opinions, but there's still a level of respect that needs to be had, even having these conversations. How can we even get there?
I think in order to get there, we have to continue to keep protesting, continue to keep talking about it, continue to keep putting it out there. Because I think the more it's being discussed, the more it's going to become a forefront. And I think a solution currently now, and the place that we are now in 2025, is to create a world for people for that. You get what I'm saying? So I think the NAIGC program will be great. But even on a just a elite world, let's say a trans woman who wants to do something in an elite world, that she's, let's say she's 16, she's just as good as Simone. Like, why can't she do elite gymnastics and represent USA? Like, she should represent USA or any other country. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's say a 16-year-old girl who looks like a man but has a private part of a woman, or just say whatever. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
She should be able to do gymnastics. I think she should do some gymnastics. I think her talent should speak louder than who she is as a person. You know what I'm saying? And if she's representing us in a positive way, why not? And I think with all these shows and everything that's coming out now, like RuPaul's Drag Race or all these shows out here that's putting a community out there for us, is showing things in such such in a positive way. And I think people look at us as negativity. And I think the more we continue to stand and show more positivity, I think that's what's going to make people as a whole or the world trust us. You know what I'm saying? But in order to get to that place, we have to just continue to keep fighting for us.
Mm, amen.
Continue to keep fighting for us. Keep putting it out there. Keep talking about it. And I think what you're doing now is great. Like interviewing people that's in this LGBT community that's involved in this gymnastics, because everybody has a voice, everybody has a story, everybody's talking about something. And I think the more you, Michaela, keep doing this, it's gonna get out there. Somebody's gonna see it, and it takes that one opportunity, that one chance, you know. And even though this stuff is going on for years and probably decades, that's all we need is for this big headline story to be on the forefront. And now it's bringing awareness to people about it, you know. So it's not anything new. It's definitely not something new. It's been discussed for a while, and it's something that we've probably been fighting for a long time, and we're fighting for it. We haven't given up on it, you know. But I think that now, let's say a picture gymnast that is, I think the talent needs out than who she is as a person.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's just hard because I just, to me, in my narrow-minded point of view, I don't think, because to know that you're transgender is such a mental and physical thing that I don't think somebody that you're gonna have cases. I'm pretty sure one day it's gonna be a case, but it's just gonna be so rare that it's just gonna be a non-factor. It may be one person every 50 years. Like, are you really gonna
Yeah,
pass whole laws based off of one person? Like, come on.
and it's scary. It's definitely scary, but I think it's gonna take bravery and courage from us to just stand strong, you know. But we can't give up, and I think we have to continue to keep talking about these things, because I think a lot of this stuff we're not talking about because the times that we're in is very sensitive. Everybody are getting very sensitive to the littlest things nowadays, you know. So some
Yeah.
conversations can't be discussed, and when they are being discussed, everybody's either getting dropped, fired, or talked about, you know.
Yes,
So
yes. Well, love, I don't want to take up all of your day, but I do want to know, who is your favorite gymnast?
well, I have one. Well, I have two. For Mel is Danelle LeVay. I loved him.
Okay.
Um, met him in person. I loved him when he did the 2008 Olympics, represented for Team USA. Like, he was my favorite. Women's, I have a couple, but I would probably say if I had to name like two or three, um, Nastia Lukin was one of them. I loved her gymnastics. She was a big influence on me. I just love her style, like her ballet contortion. Like, I just love um her gymnastics. I really did love her gymnastics. But in current time, I would probably say Jordan Childs.
Okay.
I think she showed a lot of consistency. I've watched her journey for a while. Um, and if I give one more, um, now she's doing like college gymnastics now, but it was Connor McClain. She's with
That's a good one.
LSU.
That's
Yeah,
a
so I
good
like
one.
her. So those are like some people that I was like kind of just follow their journey. I just like their gymnastics, their style, who they are as a person. Definitely curious to see who's there for the 2028 Olympics LA. I'm trying to attend. Hopefully, I can be in the audience and watch. That's on my bucket list to go and to just experience that. You know.
Me too, but this current administration, I'm just so scared of a MAGA Olympics. Like,
Yeah. Who would you say people that influence you or you're inspired by in the gymnastics world?
my number one inspiration will always be Dominique Dawes.
Yeah.
That's my number one. But even beyond Dominique Dawes, it was this young lady who made the 19. Well, she should have made the 1984 Olympics, but injuries. Her name is Diane Durham. She was the first African American woman to win a USA national title in 1983.
Hmm. Hmm. What about her that draw to her?
Diane was literally the first black gymnast that I saw win anything major
Mm,
in the sport. And that was undeniable to me. And the way,
yeah.
and another thing with Diane and her story is in 1984, the way they kind of did her dirty, getting her not to go to the Olympics because
Mm,
she kind of fell and had a bad vault, and but
mm,
she was in the top six to make it to the Olympics, but she was coached by Bella Caroli, and they told Bella that because she was so hurt, she didn't have to do uneven bars to get a score at trial, so she didn't. So they gave her a zero, and that dropped her down
mm.
to like last place.
Yeah.
And they didn't realize that she had to do uneven bars like to make the Olympic team. So that story always stuck with me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty sad that even years now, like her story lives with somebody like you. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm sure like success, and I'm sure she's proud of herself. You get what I'm saying?
She
And
passed away
whatever.
in 20 ooh, I want to say 2019. Ooh, right before the pandemic. We
Mm,
started a campaign. We got her inducted into the USA Hall of Fame because she wasn't in the USA Hall of Fame until after she passed away. But we
oh,
got her.
that, that's good. That's good that her, like I said, her legacy just continues. You know.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Fran, how can the people find you if they want to see your routines, if they want to know more about you? Where can they find you at?
Well, you guys can definitely find me at on Instagram at Coach Roy, SEYROY, and that's where I post a lot of my coaching stuff or my personal gymnastics journey. And I'm starting a YouTube channel pretty soon, and I would
Oh,
definitely post longer videos on there of my journey of my gymnastics. So hopefully you see more gymnastics of me or my personal life on there and along because I'm really, definitely excited to show you guys more of me. And I wanted to show you this last painting before you go.
okay, perfect.
This is what keeps me going
Oh,
every single day.
wow.
I love this piece of art that was given to me, and
Oh,
it
wow.
definitely it when I walk in my room and I see that, it just makes me keep going. It let me know, don't give up, just keep going.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Well, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, this is Coach Roy. Please, everybody, go follow him on Instagram and let's pay attention to his gymnastics journey. Please let me know the next time you're doing a competition. I'm going to hype it up. I'm going to make sure everybody watches or pay attention to it. Thank you, Fran, so very much.
Thank you, Michaela, and you were great today. And I definitely look forward to continue to build a friendship with you.
Yeah,
And I hope that we can continue this journey together.
absolutely, absolutely, my love. And thank you to all the people who's been watching. I'm gonna post everything in a second. I'll see you all later. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, love.